Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 4. If you're still here watching the videos, I don't know why. I don't know why you guys are still watching, but I'm very grateful for all of you. Can't believe that there's people out there listening to me just rambling about, stuff that probably only I care about. But regardless, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate everyone who's watched the first several episodes. Can't believe we're in episode 4 right now. So, just as a reminder from last week, I started trying to trying to grow the subscribers. So, our goal in the next 3 to 4 weeks is to see if we can double from 20 to maybe 40 or 50 subscribers. So, thank you to the 3 new subscriber that was added this past week. If you guys know of any friends, family who may find any interest in what I'm talking about or follow my journey in the real estate side, feel free to share with them. Have them like, subscribe, or participate in the comment section. Okay, I get a lot of kick out of that. So I appreciate all of you guys who've given me comments, whether it's on Facebook or on the comment section of the videos. Continue to do that. I really enjoy those interactions with all you guys. And so one of those interaction was another feedback from Facebook. I think one of my brother was talking about, like sharing whether or not, I ever slip away from the mindset piece and, what are the goals and what do I plan to do in the future. Of course, like any goal, you kind of start from a simple place, and hopefully from there you just go down a rabbit hole of curiosity and continue to search for yourself and search for what's important to you in that process. So the question around whether I ever slip back, of course I do. I think everyone goes through that. I feel like I'm kind of in that slump right now. The first couple years I was super motivated, trying to get traction going, got a few deals under my belt and trying to manage that. It's been really fun, all the learning experience. But right now I actually do feel like I'm a little stagnant. The first really quarter and a half right now. Can't believe we're almost through Q2 of 2023. Some of the things that's been a frustration for me is I'm not doing as much as what I feel like I should be doing, like things like continue to network or going through and doing cold calls to reach out to get a bigger pool of properties to look at, right? Because right now I'm just looking in the MLS for the most part. I know I need to do more than that, but I'm not putting as much time and effort into it as I should be. And I think some of that is just comes with momentum, right? When you lose a little bit of momentum or you get a few things under your belt when you're working on those, and then you start getting into the busy work and you start losing sight of the bigger picture, or just you're just so like drowned with all the day-to-day activities that sometimes you don't take a step back to look at your main goal, right? So of course I do go through that. um, I think one other question he was talking about is like, when is it ever good enough? um, and my wife and I actually talked about this a while back when I started having some of these thoughts in terms of just goal setting, trying to push the limits. And she also asked the same thing: is it when is it going to be enough? Is it always going to be, like you get to like 200K? Do you want to get to like 300K? And you get there, do you want to go more? And when we had the discussion, it made it sound like, of course, I was all about the money, but I think it's hard to explain it to someone who may not understand what that bigger picture, the bigger goal is. But of course, the money is an obvious side effect of why we're chasing these things, but it's not really about when is it enough. It's just more like whatever it is that you're chasing, does it still give you the motivation to keep pushing, right? Because I think in a lot of things, if we look at life in general, when we stop pushing for things, I think that's also when we may feel like we've made it. But I think when we get complacent, that's when we actually start retracting. And I heard a saying from, I think, one of the guys that I follow, Bob Proctor. He always talks about how if you're not progressing, then you're actually regressing. So you may think that you're like here because you progressed so far, but if you continue to stay here, before you know it, you're actually like way back here without realizing it, right? So that's always the challenge of trying to frame it as is like when is it ever enough, or when is it enough? Like, it's not only that, but I also think that when you feel like it's enough, or you try to just sustain a certain level of comfort over time, it may also be detrimental to your health and all other aspects of your, like, whether it's physical or mental health too, right? So I try to not get into that thinking because I'm afraid that I get complacent, and I've seen it in myself in some situations where I do feel like I get complacent, and then I lose motivation, and then now you gotta kind of restart the engine again, right? You're just trying to be consistent is a very difficult thing to do. Just because you have the right mindset, like, sometimes you feel like you need a day or two off, and then you take those few days off, and then just like going to the gym, you get comfortable there, and then now, like, 3 weeks later, you wasted 3 weeks and not going to the gym, right? Like, goal setting in the real estate investing or any other, like, ventures that we're interested in is the same thing. Like, we all know what we should be doing, but are we actually doing the things that we need to do? And so that's what I always try to do in terms of, you know, trying to push forward. Of course, if I do get really good at it, yes, there may come a time in the future where, I want to do more teaching than the actual work itself, and hopefully continue to motivate others to come along the path. And it doesn't have to be real estate; it just has to be something that you're passionate about, right? But I think in order to earn the right to really teach, you kind of have to have a portfolio of your progress, or pretty much your progress, or things that you've done in your own personal progression that gives you the right to be a teacher, right? So I'm certainly not there yet. So I'm not going to be really teaching anything, just documenting my journey. But in the future, of course, I would love to do that. Um, just be like in consulting or teaching or some sort of like motivational uh, teaching aspect. I think that would be fun. And then all of this, if I reach my financial goals, then I would want to turn more towards just doing more philanthropic work, helping those in the less fortunate situation. But you can't do that if you don't have capital, right? So I'm in a stage of growth. If you try to, I feel like if you try to help too much when you're not ready to help yet, whether it's financially or time, then you're actually doing yourself and those people you're trying to serve as a disservice, right? So I'm just in this phase of growth right now. So trying to do a little bit of service here and there, but majority of my time is still focused on trying to achieve my financial independence or financial goal. Okay, so that's that. And then the only other thing I'm going to talk about today, because I did get a few comments from those of you who listen, is just going to go into that. So the second piece is Tony, one of the listener, had asked me to if I'm willing to share what my goals are and how I went through that. So totally okay with that. Like I mentioned in some of the videos before, I talked about how I got involved with getting my mindset right and going through goal setting. That was through just 30 or 35 days of listening to this one 35-minute video, um, called The Strangest Secret by Napoleon Hill, I believe. And so when I started doing that, I started writing my initial goal, um, there, which was just three very simple goals to go off of. And the first one was, I have it here, so I'm just gonna read it off to you guys, okay? So the first goal I had was to be the source of pride and happiness for my beautiful wife and daughter and my parents. And then two, be financially free, achieving a $1.5 million a year or $125,000 a month income. That's on the financial side. And then third, it was more related to my health. So I want to maintain a perfect weight of 145 pounds. For me, if I could do 145, that I'm giving myself like 5 to 7 pounds to eat whatever, right? So I'm a tiny guy, so being at the current weight I am right now is not what I'm happy about. In terms of the financial goal, why I set it at 1.5 million or 125 grand a month, I did, my wife and I did a lot of uh, just kind of financial planning, looking at stuff we tried different ways of saving, different ways of cutting costs, and ultimately I told her, I was like, hey, like, can we align on one thing? Like, after doing all these experiences, I came to the realization that I don't want to be a saver. Like, I don't want to save like 10 months or a year just to do an event that lasts maybe a week. So I rather look at ways to accumulate capital to where if I want to take the family out for a weekend trip, like in Europe or whatever, we can just book it next week and go, right? Like, I don't want like money to be an issue from that prevents us from doing the stuff that what we classify or deem as important, right? So that number of 125 a month or 1.5 million a year is just like a number that I thought it was something that scares me, that when I did it, I can't even fathom that that's a reality. But the purpose of setting these unrealistic goal is to put something in there that it's going to be on your mind a lot. And the more you think about it, the idea is that you would start to get more creative with how to actually achieve that, right? So it's not just like manifesting and saying it and hoping that it'll come to life, but I'm a firm believer in the thought process of mindset of abundance and thinking and planning into something into existence. So from this little piece of paper with three key goals, then as I started writing that, I was doing that on a daily basis, at least twice a day, once in the morning before I get going on my day, and then once at night before I went to sleep. When I first did it, I would have it posted at my bathroom window, on my nightstand, in the closet. My wife was probably getting a little annoyed with all the post-its around that area. And then the more I did that, the more I started thinking, okay, so if I really wanted to achieve this goal, like what are some of the possible ways that I can get there, right? So that's where I started continuing to listen to Bob Proctor and got the idea of, well, like right now I have a W 2, or at the time I had a W 2, so just a single source of income. If that income gets cut or I get let go, I leave the job, I get fired, or whatever the case, like there's no other source of income coming in. So I got to figure out like how to develop multiple sources of income strategy, right? So through that process, I started kind of brainstorming some of the ways that I could accumulate income. So then came this document here that I'm gonna read off on it. This is something that I have it in my office. I look at it every day. Before I had it all printed out, I was like writing it every day, this goal, for probably a good 3 to 6 months, just writing the same goal, trying to, again, the idea is to ingrain it in your mind so that it's there's so much that you're constantly visualizing and thinking about actually what you need to do to hit that goal, right? So in here, the way I have set it up is I put a simple vision, a one sentence vision, kind of like the big picture item, and then my purpose. Because if you guys remember what I talked about, in order for you to have a sustainable goal that you can look at long term, you're gonna have to put some sort of personal significance or purpose to those to that vision, to that goal, right? Because if you don't tie personal emotion to it, when things get tough, you're just gonna bail. Like it's very easy for us, human nature, to just bail whenever a thing gets tough. But I think for most people, if you could tie something that tugs at you emotionally, then it will give you that extra ounce of energy to just continue to push whenever things don't go your way, right? And then I kind of wrote out a plan, like of what those different income streams should be, or what I should focus on to get to that goal. Really, the main purpose, if I could do it all through, um, buy and hold real estate, that would be great. But then I'm adding these other income streams in there. Hopefully, it'll come to fruition and it'll just help me stay focused, right? And then lastly, I put a timeline on when I expect to achieve this goal. So again, Tony, you asked for this, so I'm just gonna read it through for you. If you have any questions, you can ping me. You guys, just not just Tony, but any of you, you could DM me on Facebook, message me on YouTube, and when I post a video, I'll put my number there. It's public. You guys can reach out to me. I don't mind if I can help in any way. I'd love to. So my vision is I am financially independent, earning $1.5 million a year or $125,000 a month. So it's the same as what I had before. Purpose. So the main purpose of wanting to achieve financial independence is really to allow me more time to focus on the thing that is important to me. Because as if you guys are in the W-2 world, you know that we put majority of our time into our work, into our profession, but it may or may not always be what is important to you. And what I come to realize the last decade and a half is that I lost a lot of time that I can't get back. So having the financial independence is not really being money hungry, it's just being having the opportunity to afford you to control how you utilize your time, right? So it took me a long time to see that. There are some folks that I follow who are very um, smart, and they came to this conclusion in their teens and their early 20s, late 20s. It's great. Like every time I read stories about people like that, I'm super happy for them. It's just great to see that people have such like strong and clear understanding of what's important to them at such a young age. Because I certainly had all the resources around me, but I failed to see all that. So um, that's what the importance of the financial independence will allow me to do. So some of the things that I want to do is, of course, just traveling the world, just learning through experiences, connecting with people, and then teaching. Like I said, hoping to teach my daughter, nieces and nephews, anyone that's close and important to me. I have a lot of nieces and nephews. Just the importance of hard work, building a strong discipline, having consistency in your work, and ultimately having the power to persist and have unwavering faith in yourself and whatever it is that you want to achieve, right? So, again, putting it towards family because that's where everything starts. That's what's important to me. I only have my daughter, but I have a lot of siblings who have a lot of kids that, I want to be a source of inspiration for them. But I think if I can do that for my family, then I can do that for anyone else, any other kid around the world too. The third piece is wanting to build generational wealth. What does that mean? Just building wealth that will exceed my time here on earth, and hopefully build a strong enough foundation that my daughter or my daughter's kids, after my wife and I are long gone, that they continue to build the discipline and the work ethic to be able to carry that on for generations to come. If I can't do that, then of course I would have failed my purpose here, right? But that's one of the main goals of this initial vision. Now I talked about a little bit about this, but just also focusing on philanthropic work that's important to me. I talked a little bit about Hervé and his story that inspired me to want to contribute in this way. Hopefully, the next 5 to 7 years, I'll be in a much better capacity to do those things. And a lot of that too is, just remembering my dad and the type of person that he was, even though he didn't have a whole lot in terms of um, that financial stability, but he was able to help so many people. And I think back to his legacy, and if I can achieve this, then it'll just continue his. And then lastly, I said one of the other purposes is just to continue living every day with a lifelong mentality of curiosity, continuous learning, a mindset of abundance, imagination, mental toughness, and grit. And I listed these specifically because, again, as I study really successful people, they all either have all these qualities or some combination of these qualities that continue to keep them, keep people around them, or keep them in a environment that is, mostly controlled based on their decision making abilities. So I want to continue to build those for myself as well. So how am I going to achieve all this, right? Like, what's my plan? Like, if I don't know what 1.5 million a year looks like, how can I achieve it? So at the beginning, like we talked about a lot about goal setting and not focusing on the how and just focusing on what it is that you want. If there was no barrier to entry, what that would look like. So these are some of the things that I decided to focus and lock in my goals for the next 5 to 10 years, is focusing on real estate, investing in buy and hold real estate. Through that, I want to gain the benefits of tax benefits of owning real asset, cash flows from these buy and hold properties, and also just the equity buildup over time for holding on to the properties. There's a whole host of ways to invest in real estate, and after looking at everything, I decided that this long-term buy and hold would provide me the most benefit or multiple income streams through one asset class. And then the rental income, which I talked about, cash flow is part of that. Tax shelter and loan pay down or loan amortization of the loan, having your tenants pay down your rent. That's just another income stream that you don't really think about, but it's all part of that process. And I'm also a real estate agent here in the state of Washington. So if I'm able to help any friends, family, or clients get into investment homes or into their dream home, then the commissions from those transactions will also be another source of income. Syndication fees. When I started this, I wanted to do like apartment syndications, but as I looked further into it, I decided that I didn't want to do the syndication route. But I think there will still be opportunities for me in the future if I get really good at operating these assets. I want to expand out to where I want to be able to help other investors who may not have the same drive to actually find deals and operate the deals, but they may still want to be a part of a real estate transaction or investment. And so I may still do like partnerships with other capital investors. It won't be in the form of syndication. Now that I've got better education on how it works, I don't really like that model. So I will steer away from that, but I think there will still be some form of partnership, equity partnership with investors who wants to be completely hands off. And then, any profit splits from those type of partnerships. I still have my W-2, so that's still one form of income. I don't know how long that'll last, but as long as it lasts, I will keep that as part of the one of the income streams that I focus on. And then other things like stock investing, day trading. I have a little bit of long-term stock investments. Most of my investments in the stock market really is within the 401k or like index funds. I dabble a little bit in day trading, options trading, just to really work on my. What I always joke that when I day trade, it's really for me to identify and work on all the bad tendencies or personality traits that I need to focus on. So I like doing that in the morning from time to time. I used to be a lot more active, not as active anymore, but I try to put in a trade or two every other day or so. And then any sort of hopefully e-commerce business that will stem out of here. So my focus right now is still really probably 65, 75% real estate related. And the goal is to have that just funnel through to other aspects of growing income streams. In the future, of course, I like to, like I mentioned earlier, I like to get into the teaching and maybe consulting role, business coaching, things of that nature. But I don't want to focus on that now because I don't have a big track record yet. So it doesn't make sense for me to try to go and ask people to pay for my services when I haven't provided a big book of portfolio to support that type of request yet. So that may be something down the road, but it's not in the near term horizon. And lastly, duration. So, like I mentioned, when I started this was in 2021, and I said 7 to 10 years. Perfect scenario. My daughter's heading into middle school next year. By the time she graduates from high school, if I can make work optional, that would be my dream goal. Because at that point, if he wanted to, we could just take a year off with my daughter, my wife, and I, get into a van, travel the US, and document that journey. That, that would be a dream come true for my family and I. And then after that, we could just do whatever we want to do, right? And so, again, everything feeds back to ability to control how I want to utilize my time in the future. And if I had the right mindset, I would have just sacrificed 10 years when I was single to do all this, and I would be in that space already. But that's all in the past. This is where I'm at right now. So I'm going to sacrifice the next 5 to 7 years, hopefully, and build a strong financial foundation. And then from there, we can expand out to all the other things that are important to me. It's already almost 30 minutes, so I won't keep you any longer. Again, these are the two things that I have for today. If you made it to the end, I really congratulate you because I don't know why anyone would sit through 30 minutes with me just rambling on for my life. But if you did, leave me a comment, like it, subscribe, or share it with your friends and family, and let me know what you liked, what you didn't like about the episode, okay? Take care. You guys have a great day.